I'm going to make some psychic predictions about Russia and the Russian conflict that we're seeing at the moment. Now, these are my psychic predictions for Russia, but during February and March of 2018 and also in December 2017, I was asked to make some psychic predictions on Russian television. I was asked by a number of Russian TV channels. In fact, I did two for one channel and one for another. And I made a number of predictions. And I'm seeing some of those happening now. So I'm going to show you later on some of the footage. And I'm also going to talk about the predictions I made on Russian TV and make some more comments now. And now, I can't speak Russian. So, of course, I don't know what they're saying on the videos that I'm quoting here. I'm looking at my notes as I'm talking here. So I don't know what I say on the notes on the videos that I'm showing here. But perhaps some of you out there speak Russian. You might be able to put a translation in the comments if you do. So I've got some of the footage. I don't speak Russian, so I don't quite know how they reported the interview. I'm going to try to get hold of the rest of the footage that was filmed in English. I'm going to have a word with the cameraman, see if he's got a copy that I might be able to use here. But anyway, after the short Russian television clip, I'll then do another little piece like this where I'm talking to you, and I'll run through the main points about what I've said. The Russian part, on my part, is not very long because I thought it was just going to be myself being interviewed, but in fact they interviewed a number of different psychics about what's coming up, including Russian ones. Be interesting to know what was said by them as well, actually. Anyway, I made lots of psychic predictions on these channels when I spoke, and in particular back in December too, which was interesting. But only part of what I said was included, like I said. Now, I've sent emails about my psychic predictions for Russia, and I've got them as proof of the predictions that I've made. But anyway, these predictions were made on the 23rd of November 2017, the 1st of December 2017, the 1st of December 2017 and the 29th of March 2018. Those are the ones I've got the records for. That's when they were filmed, and that's when they were screened a few days after that. And this YouTube you're watching now has been uploaded on the 12th of April 2018. So you'll know that some of the things that these conflicts we're talking about have started already. Now, as with all predictions, I get some things right and some things wrong, so don't let me worry you. I am fallible. I don't claim to be infallible. I get it wrong sometimes. At times I make very specific and correct predictions though, and that can't be explained by anything, but it can't be explained by chance, can it really? So the pundits can't guess these things. If they could, well, let's see them do some videos like this. And you can see what predictions I've got right and what ones I've got wrong, because I quote both on my website. And also actually in the national newspapers too, because some of those have taken up some of these stories internationally, particularly in England. So I spoke... where's my notes? I spoke about world events on the television programs, but what I want to highlight here are some of the specific psychic predictions for Russia that I made on those TV shows. This forecast is not just for the times ahead immediately, but also for much further ahead as well. And I'll probably post some longer term predictions for country by country in due course, so keep an eye on my website for that. And some of my other psychic predictions for Russia can be cross-referenced if you look at my website in some of my other videos and about other countries. So you'll see that I've often mentioned some of these things in other videos too. Okay, now let me just, first of all, we're going to watch the clip that came from Russia. Like I say, if anybody knows how to translate this, please do. Obviously, I spoke to them for an hour or two, and it's obviously been cut right down. But I'll see if I can get the Russians later. Okay, this is what happened on the Russian TV show first.
Каким будет 2018 год для человечества? Над этим вопросом ломают голову не только политологи и экономисты. В прогнозирование включились маги, астрологи и прорицатели. Войны и конфликты изрядно надоели всем. Но похоже, что от Нового года передышки ждать не стоит. Всего человечества это значит только одно. Мы на пороге новой эры. Прежние порядки, существующие в нашем мире со времен окончания Второй мировой, устарели, а новые люди еще не придумали. Политологи в 2018-м ждут больших перемен. Карта мира вот-вот начнется. До окончательного формирования так называемого суннитского пояса осталось совсем недолго. Почти все шиитские государства в огне. Оставшиеся на плаву правительства подвергнутся новым испытаниям. И Россия с США снова окажутся по разные стороны баррикад. Но на этот раз не из-за Сирии.
Я считаю, что возникнет крупный конфликт между Саудовской Аравией и Ираном. Две страны будут находиться в противостоянии, и Россия, скорее всего, будет на стороне Ирана, а США на стороне Саудовской Аравии. Именно на этой почве, на мой взгляд, и будет конфликт между США и Россией.
Антонио Васкес Альба носит титул великого колдуна Мексики и
Okay, now these are the predictions, my psychic predictions for Russia. So, like I said, there were 3 television interviews in total with different channels, but these were some of the main points I said, and this is some of the questions that they asked me, because I've got a list of some of these as well from the emails. Now, they asked, many people say that the relations between the countries of NATO and Russia will worsen. Do you think that the conflict can grow into a large-scale military action, and in whose territories will this happen? Now, this was asked, like I said, in November and December. So this one might have been March, I'm not sure. But anyway, this is how I replied, and these are the summary of my points. Now, firstly, I said that I see the conflict with Britain over the poisoning of Sergei and Yulia Skripal, that's the people that were poisoned in Salisbury. I saw that turning into a major diplomatic incident and nightmare for the Russians and everybody. This was said before it all blew up in the press in a big way. It had happened when I said this. But I said at the time that Russia will claim that a third party did this. I said it would be ISIS or a CIA plot. And they jumped on that because they said, oh, could it be a CIA plot? I said, no. I said they were going to claim that. My feeling is that Russia would be at fault. And although I did say that I felt that Putin did not directly order this assassination. In fact, he was angry as it detracted from his election victory. In fact, this happened before he went to the polls. Not that anybody else can perhaps win in Russia, but that was my comment. I don't know if they've included that in the thing, because they obviously don't. They might not want to slag off Putin on his own channels. But I said that it seemed crazy that you'd want to do an assassination at the very time you're going to an election. It's not going to make you look good. It's going to make you look bad. There was something going on there, I think, that Putin didn't know about. So that's my thoughts with that. So that poisoning incident, of course, happened. But obviously I didn't predict the poisoning, but I said that's what the newspaper headlines were saying, of course, that it could have been a conspiracy. Now, I did say at the time that as a result of the diplomatic problems, there will be conflict between Russia and America. They pressed me on this, and I said, well, yes, I think there will be an American strike on Syria. Now, this is, I don't know if that's in the piece that I've shown you here already. We might find that out later, the Russian clips there. But this was definitely said, and I said that Russians would die in the conflict. And I said also that my feeling was that many will fear that this strike around the world, but it will not lead to a full-blown nuclear conflict. Now, that's the bit I want people to take away from this, because if you into what I do, and I do get things right, but of course I'm talking after the events here, so I just hope I can get the rest of the Russian clips. But there won't be a full-on nuclear conflict, and I think that's going to be in people's mind. People are going to be frightened about that, and that's what I'd like you to take away. That won't happen. Now, from NATO's point of view, this, I said, would be a huge loss, because actually Russia will grow closer to China. Now, and my predictions, and this is still for ahead, of course, but my predictions are that Russia and China are going to do some big trade deals, and Russia is going to sell nuclear missiles to China. okay? And China's going to more or less say, there's nothing you can do about it. You put up trade barriers to us, we can trade as we want. This will cause a lot of imbalance for other things, but that's for some future predictions for the way ahead. So we will see future conflicts in Middle East with China involved too, I feel, in the long term, but that's for something else. Now, in my earlier predictions of 2018, if you watched some of my videos, I saw an American ship being sunk. Now, I was talking about this over the North Korean crisis, right? Now, that hasn't actually happened, but I wonder to myself, because that was such a major part of what I was seeing. I wonder to myself if this could actually be linked to this conflict now. I'm going to hold with that because I think an American ship is going to get hit. Now, I think it's going to be a battleship. I might be wrong. One of the carriers or a battleship might have some incoming missile that can evade the radar. I said sink. I don't think a sink with thousands of lives lost or anything, but I think we might get it perhaps limping back to port and being perhaps not able to float properly, and so put out of action basically. So that obviously is not a good thing, but that's what I predicted before, and that's what I feel may happen now. Now, they also asked me, how will Turkey behave, and what will happen to the Russian-British relations, and what about the region of Serbia and Kosovo? Okay, and they also wanted to know what other global catastrophes will occur. So to answer those two questions, first of all, on the global catastrophes, I felt that volcanic activity will be great during 2018. This is something I've said in my other videos. I said it to them as well, and some of these have already happened, but I feel that Vesuvius will be a serious problem. Also, I see shipping being disrupted because of a giant break in the ice shelf. Now, those are things I've said in my other predictions elsewhere. I reaffirmed that on my talks with the Russian stuff. There were some other things I talked about as well, but those were the two on that question. Now, in regards to the conflicts, I said that Turkey will be drawn into the Syrian conflict. They will try to take lands from the Kurds. They will try to take advantage of the situation in the coming months and years. But after the conflict, this will all turn against Turkey in some ways, because I feel that there will be a Turkish state, and this will be created against Turkey's wishes, and some of the land for this will be from Turkey itself. So I don't think this will happen in 2018, but this will happen in some years ahead. This will be kind of a bit of a positive result, in my opinion, that will come out of the conflicts in Syria, and I do hope that the Kurds do get their own nation, and they would be a great ally to the West. I feel they will not be a threat, and nor a threat to Turkey, come to that. But that's one of the things that comes out of this. Now, they asked me also about Serbia and Kosovo. And my feelings is that Serbia and Kosovo will both lean much more towards Russia. And there will be internal conflict in these places again. Not the full-scale civil wars, but I think there will be problems and conflicts in Serbia and Kosovo. And Russia will want to intervene, and we may even see military moves for them to intervene. But they will be stopped by international political pressure. And a lot of pressure, particularly I feel, from France. Okay. Now, the interviewer went on to ask another question. Let me just look at it here on my list. Some say that if the Ravens leave the Tower of London, then Britain will fall. Will this happen? And what about the rise of the Red Star in Russia as a symbol? What are your insights into this? Now, the Russians are a very superstitious people, so these things are important to them, and I noticed even the people interviewing me were quite superstitious when we were doing the interview. But some of the points I said with this were, now, I said, because it had been in the news, that I noticed it somewhere, that the ravens in the tower are allowed to fly free. And they normally have their tails clipped, but they've allowed them to fly free, some of the ravens, not all of them are clipped. But I said that I don't believe in the superstition will come to pass. Though, as I was talking about it, I had the feeling that maybe someone would try to kill or poison the ravens. So maybe we will see something like that. And although I don't feel that if that did happen, that would be a fulfillment of the prophecy. This could be a way that people try to undermine our confidence. So, will the ravens be killed? Yes, they could be. Right, that's a thought. Now, they were also interested in me to talk about the Red Star. Now, in Russia, there's a whole big new movement of the Red Star as a symbol, which I believe has something to do with Russian nationalism. So this kind of question took me by surprise. I wasn't quite sure what they were wanting from this. But my feeling was that I wanted to reaffirm that, despite the fact that we've got all this conflict going on, there is something also, in my opinion, happening in the heart of the Russian people, that there's going to be in the future a feeling of a great awakening in Russia. Now, I think Edgar Casey might have said something about this in the past too, but I'm not sure. But there's when I've been meditating on Russia, I saw in my mind's eye, as it were, and in my feelings and thoughts, and I get sort of like visions when I do this. I saw a great upsurge in Russian religion, but not religion in a belief system type idea, or like Christianity even, although that might grow as well. But I felt as if the old roots of Russia were awakening, like the old feelings from long, long ago, way before the times of the Tsars, the first people in Russia, those feelings of a connection with the Siberian forests and the great landscape of Russia and that type of thing. So my feeling is that there is going to be an awakening in Russia, and this will be good for everybody. This will be good for the world at large. I'm not going to say they're going to lead the whole world, because I feel there's going to be a gradual awakening through the world, but I've got a feeling Russia's going to be one of those places where this sort of thing happens, and it's kind of a cog, it's a kind of a spanner in the works, because they won't know how to deal with this in Russia, and it will change things as we go along. So just some final further thoughts on this whole Russian business and what's happening. Now, at the time of posting this video, there's lots of news reports out there of a possible strike by American missiles in Syria. They're debating it in Parliament as I speak. So my initial thoughts of this conflict, when I spoke to Russian television back in those months ago, were that all this would happen in 2019. So seeing these events unfolding now makes me want to make this video, because I feel I want to talk about it, because I've already spoken to on Russian TV, kind of have confirmation of that I've done this, made these predictions. But my feeling is that people are going to really worry about the predictions, and like my prediction that a ship will be sunk in the conflicts. And if this happens, there's going to be a lot of fear around the world. So even if this is an American battleship or whatever, I feel that you don't want to panic, if you see things like this happening, because I don't feel, because this is something I said in the Russian interviews, I don't feel that this is going to end up as some huge, it's a big clash, but it's not as big a clash as like people might think, oh, we're on to World War III and it's the end of everything. There will eventually be a peaceful resolution made for this stage of the conflicts in the Middle East. I've said an American ship will sink. I also predict, however, that Trump's going to do a deal with the Russians. He does deals person to person, and I feel that the way ahead is going to be he's going to do a deal with Putin. Both of them will take personal credit for stopping the war. Two big egos will stop the war, rather than two big egos finish the war in a terrible conflict. Now, out of this, we're going to see some other things happening. I feel that during this period, for example, I don't feel that Iranian and Israeli military are going to get involved in the conflict. That's a danger. I don't feel that's going to happen. However, I do feel there's going to be something happening, we'll see it in the press, I feel, about Israeli agents. I think some of the Mossad will get caught trying to assassinate President Assad, right? So that's going to cause international problems too, because Israel getting involved is going to make other Arab countries want to get involved. But again, I'm not seeing World War III here. I think in the long term, and probably not in the coming months, but in the long term, Assad, I think, is going to get assassinated. I think it's going to be claimed that he was hit by a missile, but I think he's going to be poisoned, and I think it's going to be something clandestine, type of like a spies or something, again doing something like that. Now, in other predictions of the for the Middle East, I've said that Syria will be partitioned in the years to come. This is something that you can look in my other videos about that. I've mentioned that with the idea of the Kurdish thing. The whole of Syria is going to be broken up into a number of smaller units. However, at the end of it, despite all this, despite the conflicts with Russia, I think perhaps part of the deal that Trump's going to do, is my feeling, is that Russia will be allowed to keep its influence there. It will be able to keep a permanent base in the Assad side, the Arielites, I think they're called, aren't they? In Damascus area. So a partitioned, I see eventually peace to this conflict, a partitioned Syria with a Russian base in Damascus, a permanent Russian base that's been agreed with the Americans, and a division of the country into things such as a Kurdish state eventually, and maybe another state that is under strong influence from Iran, and others that might have other Arab influences. Even Saudi Arabia, I feel, ultimately having some influence upon that region, politically and directly. Anyway, to conclude, don't panic, we're not on to World War III. Okay, thanks. Just finally, if you have enjoyed watching my videos and following my predictions and so forth, do also have a look at my book, Messages from the Universe, because I talk in there about the nature of time, the nature of prediction, the nature of fate, and whether we can change our own fortunes, which I really believe we can. I believe no matter what difficulties come in life, they are all there from past karmas, both collectively as a world at large, and also to us as individuals as well. And that each of us can find remedies, ways to change and negate and to eradicate the negative effects of our personal karma. Now, if that can be done as an individual, it could also be done collectively as a species. So I raised some very interesting ideas there, and when I make predictions, I don't want to just alarm people. I want to bring us to the idea that we can change things by the way we think, the way we act, and the way we treat each other, and that each individual has an influence through the power of their thoughts and feelings to make the world a better place. So we're not the victims of events, but we are in fact actually the masters of events, and we can, through our thoughts, through our feelings, through the way we approach things, our attitude to the nature of the objective world, we can change things. It's like it's on two levels. We exist on a material level, which is controlled with all these dreadful news events and all the fear and panic we see outside. But also on a higher level, we are all one and all part of one higher consciousness, one reality. And when we hit there, we realise that all these things that are happening outside are just things happening outside, that there is already established perfect peace and perfect perfection, and that we can, one by one, enter that state of perfect being. So by doing that, we change the world around us. So just a final thought, really, just to leave you with that we can change things by being better people. By our acts of kindness, even just to the people around us, we are changing the whole vibration of the world and actually pushing our state into that slightly higher state where all is perfect and all is at peace. I have discovered a secret oracle in India that has on it the name of my mother, the name of my father, my name, my brother's name, my wife's name, all the details about my life from the moment I was born and right into the future. And it even tells me the time of my death. And to access this oracle, all it needed was my thumbprint.
I'm here in India on my first mystic journey. In the UK and USA, Jane and I are known as the most psychic couple on the planet.
I really enjoyed the reading with Craig because he hit some real accuracies about my father and our relationship.
I've been a psychic medium for years. We have both had a fruitful life and seen many mystical things, but my trip to India has certainly opened even my eyes. As psychics, we have both been invited to do many TV shows about the paranormal, but what I'm about to experience in India is absolutely astonishing. So astonishing that even my wife Jane couldn't get her head round it. I have come to India to visit its temples and to do its rituals and change my fate. Everything the Oracle has told me about my life so far is astonishing. What it has to say is so mind-boggling that I feel compelled to make this crazy journey in order to undertake the magical remedies it prescribes. I want to find out if these nadi leaves are a myth or the real thing. And if so, maybe I can uncover their secrets and discover if they can help other people too. On this journey, I meet a holy man who sleeps in a raging fire and is claimed will live for hundreds of years. This Siddhi yogi never eats, lives in a cave, and few people ever get to meet him. I am guided by two astrologers that help me clear my karma and explain to me the rituals that I must undertake. I am stunned by the beautiful landscapes and overwhelmed by the magical temples and mystic places. I love the people and the animals of India. I am visiting places where few Westerners ever go. It's a cultural shock and spiritual awakening. I feel an overwhelming inner transformation. Will I find the guiding light I need? My search takes me thousands of miles across India's breathtaking landscapes, and I see magnificent things. To clear my karma, the Oracle has told me to do charitable work, undertake magical rituals and remedies. This is the adventure of a lifetime. This is my mystic journey.